everyone, and welcome to an Extivia webinar, delivering the information you need for the business future you want. We're sharing our knowledge to help your business thrive in today's new normal. My name is Alex Killian, and I'm the video producer here on Extivia's marketing team. Before we dive into the webinar this morning, I would love to tell you just a little bit about our company. For nearly 3 decades, we've been providing a variety of IT services to hundreds of businesses in countless industries. If you can imagine the business outcome, Extivia can create it with technology.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for attending my webinar, which is on Azure Kubernetes Service. Hope you enjoy it. So today we're going to speak about Azure Kubernetes Service, especially Azure. To dive into Azure Kubernetes Service, first I have to give a little bit of introduction on the Kubernetes itself. Then I can tell you what advantages that Azure will bring over Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is a container management system. Using the Kubernetes, we can manage massive amount of containers, and obviously in that way, any number of applications. In the current scenario of microservices, where application is divided into many small pieces, at this point of time, we need some tool which manages all these containers, and also gives us a easy access for scaling, auto scaling, monitoring, and like launching, and then terminating. All these options should be some tool has to give us certain those kind of options where we can easily manage a large enterprise applications built on microservices. So Kubernetes comes into that area for the containers. So we can easily manage workloads, and we can easily scale and also build more extensible apps. So the Kubernetes architecture is like this. The major thing that Kubernetes has, it is divided into 2 components, which is Kubernetes master and Kubernetes nodes. So Kubernetes master can be accessed through API, either by UI or by command line interface. Let's first go into deep into the Kubernetes master, then we can go deep into the Kubernetes node. Okay. So Kubernetes master has mainly 4 components. One is etcd, an API server, scheduler, and then control manager. But there are other things, but they are not majorly they are not major actors, but these 4 are major actors. So if we launch a Kubernetes master node, then that means you are launching all these 4 internal components. So there should be some way that we can easily easily create a Kubernetes master and easily take down Kubernetes master. It should not be like take hours, days and days to just set up a Kubernetes master. Then there is no point of if it is taking huge amount, then there's no point of having this tool. So there should be some easy way that we can bring up this Kubernetes master. To go into these components has their own unique features, which is not in our scope of this presentation, but still I will just give a rough brief. etcd is a NoSQL database which Kubernetes needs to persist certain information, so it uses etcd. And API server, as name indicating, that it receives all the API requests from nodes and also from users who are managing Kubernetes. Scheduler is, as I said, like it is auto scale. Kubernetes gives the auto scale. So obviously that kind of features has to be equipped with the scheduler, where you can say, okay, this particular point of month, my traffic will spike. So better you launch 2 more containers for me. Then that all information will go and managed by scheduler. Controller manager is something like a monitoring system of all the worker nodes. It just keeps a watch on everything's perfect. If something goes down abruptly, it tries to launch a new container on any of the worker node, available worker node. So yeah, now let's go to node. Kubernetes node majorly has this something called pods. Pods are final unit of our entire cluster, like entire our business logic, entire application logic will ultimately executes on pod. Pod is like a fundamental unit for the Kubernetes world. Pods need a runtime, container runtime. It can be anything, but currently popular thing is Docker. So Kubernetes inbuilt comes with the Docker runtime. Kubelet is like command line interface where master has to somehow or other way communicate to node, right? So in that kubelet will be used for that. At the same time, kubelet can also be used by manually by users who directly want to manage node. And kube proxy is a networking capability because all these are obviously pods are running our applications which needs a network. And also internal Kubernetes also needs a network. So kube proxy provides all kind of load balancing, internal network, or firewall rules. Everything will be provided by kube proxy. FluentD is a tool where it used for monitoring, and also it's like an agent which communicates to masters. Kubelet and Fluent will frequently send the informations to master to tell whether everything's fine. I mean, everything's fine with respect to running. And if something goes bad, then master will take action and install this pod in any available Kubernetes node. Yeah, this is a roughly Kubernetes world. And as I said, pod is a very fundamental unit. And what all Kubernetes does is it manages the pod. It brings up and brings down the pods based on the application and based on the settings. Now let's go into Azure. What Azure role is there in this entire Kubernetes world? The first and foremost thing is Kubernetes master node. Just by button clicks, within a span of around 10 minutes, your master is ready. All that complicated things, all that complex part of the Kubernetes is ready within 10 minutes by giving certain settings. It is there for us. And moreover, it is free of cost. When I say it is free of cost, it is literally zero. There is no charge on setting up a master. Whereas if it is, say, for example, on-premise, you want to set your own master, then for setting up itself, it takes, say, for example, 2 or 3 days. Then also you are allocating a very high-end machine, which is taking enough RAM and enough power and enough processor, which costs you a little bit. I mean, which costs you some or other amount. But when it comes to Azure, it is zero cost and zero maintenance. So that's a huge benefits on the first step. Okay. It cost for the nodes. I mean, nodes is ultimately is the thing which we are running our applications. So it's based on our application, what kind of nodes you want to choose. Is it iProcessor nodes? Nodes means in technical terms, it's a virtual machine. Do you want is your application demanding high processor virtual machine, or is your application demanding high memory virtual machines? The cost is based on those nodes. Say for example, at a given point of time, your applications needs, say, 5 nodes. Then and those nodes are based on certain configuration, certain series in the Azure virtual machines. Then the cost is based on only those nodes. So ultimately, and yeah, these nodes will obviously be installed with Kubelet. As I said, that nodes has some internal components. Ultimately, it all will be installed. You don't need to install, it's auto setup. But obviously, the only thing that Azure takes from us is money with respect to node. And then it gives a Azure CLI commands to manage the Azure nodes. I mean, Azure Kubernetes nodes. The bigger advantages is Azure is already having huge infrastructure benefits with respect to networking or with respect to storage or with respect to on-premise connectivity. All are available for your node. If it is otherwise, if it is you're doing it in on-premise, then you have to set up your own network. You have to set up your own storage. But whereas Azure, because it's already have in its backyard, so it can easily port all those services to your Kubernetes node. This is another benefit for going to Azure. Now, networking, as I said, like let's go to networking. See, Azure Kubernetes has inbuilt networking feature available, which I already said. So you can use it if you want. But what Azure done is it has built its own compatible networking model for the Kubernetes, and it asks us to use. I mean, it gives us an option. Either you can go with a native Kubernetes networking features, or you can use Azure built networking features. So benefit of using Azure built networking feature is like you might have already have some applications running on the Azure infrastructure somewhere. I mean, on Azure cloud. Say for example, API gateway, or say storage, or any application firewall. So you can all easily port your application running in the Azure Kubernetes. I mean, the applications that are running on the Kubernetes, they can all easily ported to the Azure network if we use Azure built, custom built networking model, which is called Azure Container Networking Interface. So basically, this is recommended for people who are depending too much on Azure. So if you can use this Azure built networking interface, your life becomes very easy because you can connect to all other parts of your application easily. Then storage, as I said, Azure gives the storage infrastructure, which is managed disks and Azure files. You might have a big data, or you might have a master database, or you might have a RDBMS running on your Azure storage facilities. Your applications running on containers of Kubernetes can easily port it using the Azure. I mean, that means using Azure, you can easily manage those storage things. Like compared to on-premise, it obviously becomes very easy with respect to Azure, because it all knows where exactly it is, and it internally it manages everything. This is unique feature compared to other cloud services of Kubernetes, which is Azure AD integration. As I said, that Azure providing its own networking model and owns, I mean, the storage is there in Azure. So using that, you can easily integrate with Azure AD. Azure AD came with a lot of experience of Windows AD. So it is hugely matured Active Directory. So leveraging, if any enterprise leveraging Azure AD features, then they can easily integrate with Kubernetes using the Azure AD integration. So let's walk through a quick rough demo. It's not a huge one, but you will get an idea of how easy to create a Kubernetes infrastructure on Azure. So this is my Azure account. Let's create a Kubernetes service. So when I'm saying creating a Kubernetes service means I'm right now trying to launch the Azure master node and worker node. So let's see how easy it's gonna launch a Kubernetes master node. So we just need to go create and say create Kubernetes cluster. It will ask for some few details. So I'll just say demo as my resource group, and I'll give demo 3 because I used 2. I'll just keep East US and other things default. So that's it. These are the only things that need for the master to be created. These are the only details. So you don't need any kind of technical expertise to create a master node. That's one thing, one great thing. Now here come to the worker node. It's asking to create 3 nodes, but because this is demo, we'll just create 1 node. And we'll change the size more, which will change a virtual machine, which is more cheaper because this demo. So I choose the basic cheaper virtual machine for the master, for the worker node. Okay. Then let's see the next section. It creates the pool with just a 1 node because we choose only 1 node. And authentication, just don't need to worry, but still I'll give a small introduction about it. We have this, we can manage this Azure entire service using the system assigned managed identity. That means you don't need to have any private key, public key, all those things. Right now RBAC is enabled. So, but this is anyway out of scope, but these are the 2 things which I'm choosing, is they are default anyway. So networking, as I said, Azure give 2 options for the networking. One is inbuilt Kubernetes inbuilt networking feature, which is KubeNet, and the one which is Azure built for us, which is Azure CNI. See, because it is demo, I'm choosing the simplest one, which is KubeNet. But for the real time, you always go with Azure CNI. As I said, that will become your further development or further work activities very, very easy for you. Because you can put any other Azure service to this Kubernetes. Okay, then we just see, did we give everything right? It just will take some time to review all the details that we given. Hopefully everything should fine. Yeah, it's fine. And we'll just, by just this clicking this button, it will launch this block for us and 1 worker node for us. If it is same thing on-premise, you might have given a lot of details and you might need a lot of technical expertise, and also it would have taken at least 1 or 2 days, and it used to cost a huge power machine to run this master node. Yeah, it takes around say 5 or 10 minutes to launch the Kubernetes master and worker node. But what I've done is, to save that 5 or 10 minutes, I already created a master node for us and kept ready for demo. So this is a Kubernetes service, which we just see what are there. In the node pool, we have running node pool, which is just 1 machine ready for us. And we got networking. So we got some subnets marks given to us. As I said, KubeNet will provide fundamental networking features, and we have monitoring capabilities. And all those things just came on 1 single button click. Okay. Now what we do is, we have this setup ready. We just go and try to deploy any sample application on the worker node. So that means it will create a pod for us, and it will launch a container, and it will launch a container and it will put it on the pod, and it will give us all the application, means it will give us a service with respect to application. So let's do that. I'm just launching the shell from Azure itself. So in order to use master node, we need a command line tool. As I said, like you can manage the master node using a command line tool and also UI. But command line tool is now more matured because they're from beginning. So I'll just use the command line interface and execute certain commands on the master, which will in turn execute commands on the node and deploys application on the node. In order to do that, first I need to install the command line interface. So let the shell gets open. Yeah. We got our command line. So let's install the command line, Azure command line interface. So this is a resource group name, and this is a Kubernetes service name, which I have given demo to. So AZ is Azure command line tool, and AKS is a command line. So yeah, it got a command line tool for us. Now we can control the master using the command line. So what I'll see, I'll just ask master how many nodes I have. I know I have one node, but still I'll just see whether master is working or not. So the other one got successful, but we still stick with it with this one. So kubectl is a command line tool for the Kubernetes. It sounds like kube and command line tool. And I asked it for the get nodes, and what master said is I have one node and which is ready, and it's an agent. Obviously, node is an agent, and it's just 15 minutes old. So what I do is I'll try to launch an application which is sounding like this. This is a YAML script. I mean, master understands this YAML script. It's a declarative program which you just say what need to be done, and it understands it, and it does it for us. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to install Azure Vote Bank vote application, which has two components, vote backend and a vote frontend. Okay. So what I'm saying is it just needs one replica. That means one container is enough. One container. I'm not saying one node, one container. And it's going to take certain containers information, like what kind of image you need. It needs a Redis image, as I said. Container is nothing but a Docker image, and it goes as a container. And all the port details, networking details, and it is the another component is front, and it also needs an image called Azure Vote Front. Yeah, so we have to give this script to the master, and it will build two applications for us. One is back, and one is, vote back and vote front, which is backend and front end for the vote application. So the way we can give is like this. You create a file. So let's create a file code, and the file name is Azure Vote YAML. Yeah, it is editor, and a file, I think I already created it for you. So it's the same thing, I just copy pasted here. So we have a file already, which is good. Just close it. And now then we have to run this so that it executes, it creates application for us. That particular command will create a pod and also put a container in the pod. Oh, where did I take it? There is little, yeah. So I told master to do that, and master did deployment of my backend, and it also created service around it, which is, it has given all that API things, and it has created it has deployed a front end, and also it is created a service for us. Okay. Now let's check on what is my IP address for that. So I need a IP address to access that application, right? For that, I need to ask master, okay, give me IP address, because it has created all the networking things and everything. So I'm just asking master to give the IP address. So it has given the internal IP address and external IP address. External IP address is the one which we can access from our browser. So it takes little time, and it launches a vote application. Right now, we're going to access the front end of it. In the meanwhile, we just check what's happening at portal side. So we have given workload, which is we have installed, we have deployed the two applications. One is front end and one is back end. So these are the workload that is showing. It's on node 1 and it's ready. These are the internal Azure workload, Kubernetes workload that is meant for its own maintenance. But the workload that we have assigned is these two. So let's see, it's coming. Yeah, this is the front end of the application that we just now created. And it is storing this information somewhere in the backend. So if we refresh it, we still have that information. So that means there is somewhere in the backend it is putting information in the Redis cache. We have seen that, right? It puts it creates the image of Redis. So all this 6 and 1 is gone to Redis and sitting in the Redis in the backend, and the front end is what we are seeing now. So it's that easy. I mean, we have created a master node. We have created a worker node. We deployed the pod, and also we deployed the container. And in that container, we launched our application. So it's that simple if we choose the Azure Kubernetes service. I hope you enjoyed my talk. And if you have any questions.
Yeah, Karen, we have some questions from the audience. I'm going to ask you the first question. Can I spread an AKS cluster across available zones?
Yeah, certainly. We can definitely have worker nodes stretched among different availability zone. So like say, for example, master node is certain availability zone, and then it can easily like manage the clusters which are manage the nodes which are running on different availability zone, and can build a one cluster. Yeah, that is definitely possible in the Kubernetes, in the Azure Kubernetes. Yeah.
All right, thank you. We have some other questions. The next question I have: can I have different VM sizes in a single cluster?
Yeah, you can have it, but there is a small catch on it. I mean, Azure Kubernetes service manages nodes with respect to pools, agent pools. In single pool, you can have any number of nodes, but all those nodes has to follow one size. But you can have multiple nodes. So a cluster so ultimately you can have a different sizes, but they should be organized with respect to node pools. So the answer is yes, but for that you need to have something called node pools in the Azure Kubernetes service. Yes.
We have one more last question from the audience. Can I limit who has access to the Kubernetes API server?
Definitely, that is one of the, I mean, what you say, important aspect of the Azure Kubernetes service. That's why it uses RBAC, which is Azure RBAC, in order to control the CLI access, command line interface access, as well as UI access. So first you need to log in and give the credential, then only you can execute any commands on the Azure Kubernetes service. So that is definitely possible.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So Karen, that's all the questions we have from the audience. I'd like to thank you for this very insightful presentation. I know I've learned a lot, and I'm sure the audience has learned a great deal as well. Thank you again, and have a good evening.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, thanks, and you too. Have a nice day.